80s Hollywood Kung Fu movies certainly had some influences. I am the Game Collector and this is Second Opinion Games, and today I show you some martial arts video games.
Second Opinion Games.
It's hard to find someone that didn't own a copy of Karate Champ in the 80s. It was a hit arcade game despite the fact it was just one person in white facing one person in red on a background that sometimes changes. Also, the learning curve here is non-existent. Every single fight is exactly the same. I could usually just stand in one place, let him come to me, and then throw a punch and win. Occasionally, I'll have to do some other stuff though, and if you get turned around, well then heck if you could ever turn around again. Usually you have to jump around like an idiot, and hopefully you end up on the other side of him before he lands a critical blow. This is one of the worst games ever, and I can never figure out those bonus stages. Who's throwing these freaking pots at me? And how come I can't hit them ever? Oh, this is a frustrating game, and is one that you should probably avoid, even if you want to have a quick laugh with a friend for how bad it really is. Just stay away. Kung Fu Heroes is one of those beat up everything in sight and occasionally you'll move on to the next level style action games. It takes place entirely on one screen and half the time you'll just be punching rocks trying to collect power-ups like fireballs which take out your enemies really easy. Even without the fireballs, I really like how you say hi-ya and lunge forward with a giant fist as you explode these foes. And occasionally you could even unlock some warp zones to push you farther into the game. And occasionally you could also pick up some bonus rounds where it's kind of like Frogger with the lots of stuff being fired at you and you just have to survive and collect as many power-ups as you can given an allotted time. This is also a great two-player co-op game and I think it's a lot of fun, especially with the digitized speech that is just kung pao hi-yas! The Master System here gets some love too with Kung Fu Kid. It's an action platformer where you walk real slow, so you're encouraged to jump all the stinking time, landing devastating jump kicks. And you can do jump kicks really cool here. I like how you can tap the button to kick multiple times while in the air. Your regular standing kick is very effective as well, but later levels you're going to be fighting zombies that take way too many hits, and then that's where the power-up comes in. Occasionally you'll pick up these little playing cards, and they're very effective against the zombies themselves, but really sort of weak or not useful at all against the bosses. Animals are here too, like frogs. I just love kicking the crap out of these frogs and making them fly through the screen into other enemies, killing them. Death by frog. Now that is cool. This is a really cool platform game, and it's one of the first times I've seen the wall mechanic where you jump off the wall to get higher and higher. Occasionally you might think you could sequence break this game, but you can't. It's very linear from point A to point B, fight a boss, and kick some frogs in the face. Kung Fu for the NES is an action game where you run left to right. Then you climb up some stairs and run right to left. And every time you go upstairs, you run a different direction. If they would have put all these stairs together, the game would be a lot shorter. And there is 5 total levels here, but don't think you're going to run through them real quick because the enemies come after you really fast and hard. There's guys that just want to hug you to death, other people that want to throw knives, dragons popping out of the ground, and even midgets that you could punch in the face, and even some bees that you also punch in the face. Most of the boss battles here are kind of cool. They usually just have you run up as fast as you can and punch them in the dingus until they drop over dead. But this is a terrific 5-stage arcade experience that is really kind of cool. And it was based off of a Jackie Chan movie. So, yeah, there's that. Jackie Chan's action kung fu. You're on a walk with your beautiful girlfriend when an evil wizard zombie creature just steals her away from you. Now you have to fight everything in sight to win her back, including frogs, which you will punch in the face to collect power-ups of different karate moves that presumably you can already do. What's up with punching frogs in the face? Occasionally you'll punch other people in the face and collect their balls that can let you do a Hadouken. That's kind of cool. Speaking of balls on Jackie Chan, he even fights a freaking tiger in this game. How cool is that? Now, your reflexes are going to have to be at the top of your game because some of the auto-scroll levels here are insanely tight and fast and difficult. And occasionally, the patterns that you're going to have to memorize are just too freaking tough. This is one terrific, tough game and is certainly one of the most underrated games on the NES's library. Which brings us to the same game on the TurboGrafx 16, Jackie Chan's Action Kung Fu. This time around, everything is made brighter, the graphics have been cleaned up dramatically, you still have the Hadoukens and the necessary frog punching with the different power-ups inside. You could occasionally punch out a tiger still, which I wouldn't change for anything. And your reflexes have to be just as fast. Some of the auto-scrolling levels seem to be completely gone this time around, thank God, but it doesn't mean it's gonna be any easier. Matter of fact, it feels a lot harder, probably because Jackie's head is just so freaking big here. Yeah, they were really pushing big sprites. After all, the NES had these teeny tiny sprites, and they just kind of wanted to show off the horsepower of 16 bits. That means double the size of the person. And this makes me wonder how big they could actually make sprites on the TurboGrafx 16. Chyna Warrior. I guess they were trying to figure out how to make the biggest freaking sprite possible. And people absolutely hate this guy. They're throwing sticks and rocks at him left and right. And there's even some type of demons that tend to attack. Occasionally there's butterflies or more likely killer bees that even have to try and take you down. You're always walking forward unless you're punching or ducking, which occasionally you do have to do. When you make it to the end of the stage, well, there'll be huge Iron Sheik looking guys that you have to try to punch. I never know exactly how to get in here and attack them just right. Occasionally I can defeat them and move on to the next day or later on that same day. This is really confusing, and I do like how when your character takes damage, he starts to bleed. He just reminds me a lot like Bruce Lee, but I am never playing that awful Bruce Lee Dragon game for the Atari Jaguar ever again. You will not catch me dead doing that. Dragon the Bruce Lee story on the SNES. Is it as bad as the Atari Jaguar version? No. Is it a good game? No. You have to fight as Bruce Lee against a freaking short order cook or a sailor and occasionally some other guys. You think these guys would be pushovers for Bruce Lee, but it turns out he's kind of a candy ass. He can flip around left and right, and you can even play two-player with two Bruce Lees on one freaking character, but that doesn't make it any easier. And the controls here are still a bit of a mess. However, this time around, I could actually press a button and continuously do the same style attack every time. And when your nunchuck level builds up, you better whip those puppies out for a real easy kill. The graphics here this time around are really good, and I like the storyline with the different cutscenes as the game takes place. This is sort of loosely based off of a Bruce Lee Lee movie that, believe it or not, was supposed to be based off of his life, but I don't think he fought nearly this many people in real life, mostly just in the movies. In the end, when it comes to playing 8-bit and 16-bit classic video games, stay away from anything with Bruce Lee in it or the word karate, and definitely pick up any game that has Kung Fu in its name. After all, my Kung Fu is superior to yours, and that's just my opinion. Thanks for watching. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this review. I had a great time making it. This is one I wanted to do for a really long time. So what games did I forget about here? I know there was Karate Kid on the NES, but honestly, I really hated that one a lot more than Karate Champ, so I just didn't want to play it or even talk about it at all. So what other games do you think that I should play that have the words Kung Fu in it? If there's any more even out there, or what ones do I really need to play? I really like Shaolin Monks, the Mortal Kombat game on the original Xbox. That was a really good time, but maybe I'll save that for another video. So until later, I will see you again, guys.